Very sad and unfortunate what has happened to Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham, let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Let's be very, very clear here.
The play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it.
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness.
It began with a sound no basketball fan ever wants to hear. The sharp cry of pain from Sophie Cunningham as she clutched her right knee. The arena fell into stunned silence, while the broadcast replays showed the collision again and again, each angle more gut-wrenching than the last. Fans watching live weren't just concerned, they were furious. This wasn't an isolated accident. It was part of a larger pattern. Cunningham's injury was more than just a blow to her career. It symbolized the growing cracks in a league that promised entertainment, but delivered chaos, danger, and heartbreak instead. What made this moment even more unbearable was the context. Sophie Cunningham wasn't just another player lost to injury. She was a vital part of the Indiana Fever's heart and soul. Alongside Caitlin Clark, she helped energize a fan base desperate for success. Her presence was fiery, scrappy, and fearless. And now, lying on the hardwood with medical staff surrounding her, all of that intensity was reduced to painful uncertainty. The question wasn't just, is she okay? It was darker. Is the WNBA failing its stars before our very eyes? The league, desperate for a spotlight, has found itself in a spiral of injuries, controversies, and violent clashes that feel more like a demolition derby than professional basketball. For Cunningham, this was the second time this season her body had been wrecked against the same opponent, the Connecticut Sun. The odds of that happening by accident are slim. Fans immediately began to connect the dots, pointing fingers and demanding answers. Was this reckless bad luck, or was there something far more deliberate lurking in the shadows of the league's most heated matchups? Replay analysis made the injury all the more chilling. Cunningham's right foot planted awkwardly, and when Bria Hartley collided with her from the outside, the force pushed her knee inward, a movement no joint was designed to endure. Analysts broke it down frame by frame, pointing to the hyperextension, the inward twist, the unnatural torque. The conclusion was grim. This wasn't just a bruise or a stinger. This was something structural, something season-altering. And as the footage spread, fans didn't just feel sympathy. They felt anger rising like a storm. Because Sophie Cunningham wasn't just another casualty of a rough play. She was the latest victim in what fans are calling a league-wide crisis. Caitlin Clark has endured elbows, blindsides, and endless hard fouls. Other stars have been battered and bruised. But Cunningham's injury carried a different weight. It wasn't just a pain in her scream. It was a symbolism of yet another Fever player being carried off the court, another chapter in a season that feels less like a highlight reel and more like a medical report that grows longer with every game. And then came the whispers. Were these players being targeted? Fans online weren't shy about their suspicions. The fact that Cunningham had now been injured twice by the same team was too much for some to write off as coincidence. They accused the Connecticut Sun of cultivating a reputation for dirty play. In particular, Bria Hartley's name was thrown into the fire. Hartley had a history of controversial incidents, hair-pulling, flagrant fouls, ejections. So when she collided with Sophie, fans didn't see an accident. They saw a repeat offender striking again, and they were livid. Bria Hartley's reputation preceded her. This wasn't the first time she'd been at the center of controversy, and for many fans, it won't be the last. Clips resurfaced of her grabbing Angel McCautry by the hair, of her clashing aggressively with opponents, of referees ejecting her in frustration. Whether fair or not, her image in the eyes of the public is cemented. Reckless, dangerous, dirty. And so, as Cunningham writhed in pain, the narrative wasn't tragic accident. It was Hartley strikes again, a storyline that left little room for doubt in the minds of already enraged fans. Now, to be fair, not everyone was convinced of malicious intent. Some analysts argue the collision looked accidental, an unfortunate convergence of bad footwork, awkward positioning, and sheer bad luck. But here's the truth. Intent doesn't matter when the outcome is the same. Sophie Cunningham's knee still buckled. She still had to be helped off the court. The damage was done, both to her body and to the league's reputation. And for fans, perception is everything. In their eyes, the WNBA isn't protecting its stars, and that perception is quickly becoming reality. the fallout wasn't confined to the arena. Within minutes of the injury, social media erupted in rage. Words like disgrace, dirty, and unwatchable trended across platforms. Fans posted slow-motion clips, circled angles, and pointed fingers. They demanded suspensions, accountability, action from the league. But the silence from officials was deafening. No immediate statements, no urgent press release, no decisive ruling. Just the same old shrug that has defined the WNBA's response to escalating physicality. And in that silence, the anger only grew louder, echoing through timelines like a rallying cry for change. The referees didn't escape the backlash either. Fans are sick of officials handing out technicals for minor gestures, eye rolls, claps, sarcastic smirks, while missing dangerous collisions that can end careers. The imbalance is glaring. Quick whistles on attitude, swallow whistles on violence. And when emotions run high, that inconsistency becomes gasoline on an already raging fire. The lack of control turned competitive games into chaos, and chaos lead to injuries. Sophie Cunningham's knee became Exhibit A in a case against officiating that looks more damning by the day. But what made fans even angrier was the double standard. When Caitlin Clark takes a hard foul, the sports world stops. Headlines explode, debates dominate airwaves, and think pieces flood the internet. But when Sophie Cunningham, another major Fever star, went down, the coverage was muted. The outrage was smaller. The reaction was subdued. Fans noticed, and they were furious, because in their eyes, the message was clear. Some stars matter more than others. And for a league trying to grow, that perception is poison, undermining the very foundation of its marketability. That imbalance speaks to something deeper. Caitlin Clark may be the golden ticket, the ratings magnet, the household name. But Sophie Cunningham is a fiery competitor, a fan favorite, and a crucial part of the Fever's heartbeat. To see her treated as an afterthought by the media only made her injury sting more. It wasn't just about fairness. It was about the future. How can the WNBA grow if only one star gets attention, while others are left to fall, forgotten, into silence? Fans see it, players feel it, and the resentment is growing louder every day. And this is where the WNBA finds itself trapped in its own contradictions. On one hand, it wants rivalries, it wants passion, it wants controversy to fuel engagement. But on the other hand, it's failing to control the violence that comes with those rivalries. The Connecticut Sun are now being branded as the league's villains. For some fans, that's exciting. Every league needs a bad guy. But when the villain's calling card is sending star players to the injured list, the product stops being entertaining. It becomes disturbing, grotesque, even unwatchable. That's a line no league wants to cross. Because the truth is simple. Nobody buys tickets to watch benches full of injured stars. Nobody tunes in to watch skeleton rosters limp through games. And yet, that's exactly what the WNBA is presenting right now. Indiana Fever games, once the crown jewel of ratings thanks to Clark and Cunningham, are now clouded with anxiety. Instead of excitement, fans brace for the next injury, the next stretcher, the next season cut short. It's no longer about winning or losing. It's about survival. And survival isn't the product the league promised. The optics are disastrous. Indiana is supposed to be the WNBA's cash cow, the team that drives revenue, fills arenas, and captures national attention. Caitlin Clark turned the Fever into must-watch TV. Sophie Cunningham brought grit and passion that balanced Clark's star power. Together, they were a duo to rally behind. But now what's left? A fractured roster, injured stars, and fans questioning if it's even worth watching anymore. The league had a golden opportunity to showcase greatness, and instead, it's showcasing destruction, injury after injury, failure after failure. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about basketball. It's about money. Every injury to a marketable star tanks ratings, frustrates sponsors, and kills momentum. The Fever vs. Sun games were supposed to be marquee matchups, the kind you circle on the calendar and plan your night around. Now, they're just grim reminders of who's left standing. Instead of highlight reels, fans are left with injury reports. Instead of rivalries, they're left with bitterness. And every lost star chips away at the WNBA's fragile growth, leaving behind a fan base increasingly disillusioned and angry. It's no wonder some fans are calling for drastic measures. The most dramatic suggestion? That Caitlin Clark herself should sit out the season to protect her health. It sounds extreme, even unthinkable, but the logic is there. If the league won't protect its stars, maybe the stars have to protect themselves. Imagine the chaos if Clark, the face of the WNBA, simply refused to play until changes were made. The short-term damage would be enormous, but in the long run, it might be the nuclear wake-up call the league desperately needs. Meanwhile, the Connecticut Sun's reputation is cementing in real time. Whether intentional or not, they're now perceived as the league's dirtiest team. Every collision is suspect, every foul scrutinized, and perception matters just as much as reality. Once fans decide you're dirty, every play looks deliberate, every injury looks intentional. The Sun have become basketball's villains, but not in the way the league hoped. Instead of fueling entertaining rivalries, they're fueling disgust, hatred, and suspicion, and that perception threatens to undermine the entire league's credibility. The Fever locker room, meanwhile, is left in shambles. Caitlin Clark already knows she's a target of constant fouls and physical intimidation. Aaliyah Boston has been banged up. Kelsey Mitchell has had her share of bruises. And now Sophie Cunningham is gone, possibly for the season. How do you step onto the court focused on basketball when you're secretly wondering if you're next? That isn't sport, that's survival mode. And survival mode breeds fear, doubt, and despair, the exact opposite of what fans come to game to experience. And let's not ignore the personal toll on Sophie Cunningham herself. Critics have accused her in the past of exaggerating contact or milking fouls, but none of that matters when you're carried off the court clutching your knee. This injury wasn't acting. It wasn't drama. It was real, painful, devastating. For a competitor like Sophie, who thrives on energy, toughness, and grit, the loss is crushing. Not just for her, but for the fans who see her as a symbol of Indiana's fight. Without her, that fire dims, and fans feel that loss deeply. So, where does the WNBA go from here? Fans are demanding accountability, transparency, and reform. They want stricter officiating, harsher penalties for dirty play, and a commitment to protecting stars. They want the league to treat injuries like the existential crisis they are, not as unfortunate side notes. Because make no mistake, this is an existential crisis. The WNBA is at a crossroads. It can either protect its stars and secure its future, or it can shrug its way into irrelevance, alienating the very fans who are keeping it alive. The sad irony is that the WNBA finally has the spotlight it always wanted. Thanks to Caitlin Clark, thanks to Sophie Cunningham, thanks to a new wave of talent, the league is on more televisions and in more conversations than ever before. But instead of showcasing skill, excitement, and growth, it's showcasing injuries, chaos, and controversy. The spotlight is here, but what it's revealing isn't greatness, it's failure. And unless something changes fast, the league's dream moment could turn into its darkest nightmare. Sophie Cunningham's injury is more than a tragedy. It's a warning to the league, to the referees, to the players, and to the fans. A warning that if things don't change, the WNBA story won't be one of growth and triumph. It will be one of squandered opportunities, wasted potential, and stars broken before they ever had a chance to shine. And fans won't forgive that. They're already fuming, already calling out the league, already demanding more. The question now is simple. Will the WNBA listen before it's too late? Because this much is clear. Sophie Cunningham's injury isn't just about one player, one team, or one game. It's about the integrity of the entire league. It's about whether fans can trust that when they tune in, they'll see basketball, not carnage. It's about whether stars can step onto court without fearing for their futures. And it's about whether the WNBA has the courage to face its flaws and fix them. Until then, every collision will feel suspicious, every injury will feel inevitable, and every fan will wonder if the league cares at all. And as we sit here, waiting for updates on Sophie Cunningham's MRI, the silence is deafening. Fans refresh timelines, scroll endlessly, desperate for hope. But the league's silence speaks volumes. Will it be another shrug, another part of the game excuse? Or will this finally be the moment the WNBA wakes up, takes action, and proves that it values its stars? Because if they don't, the fans will decide for them. And once fans walk away, there's no coming back. Sophie Cunningham's injury could be the turning point or the beginning of the end.